Beyond the Golden Gate Bridge awaits glorious Marin County, home to sweeping vistas, diverse cultures, and inspiring causes. Join us for Marinterviews, profiling people and projects, creating a meaningful impact in our community. Hi there, welcome back to Marinterviews, where we highlight people and nonprofits making a difference in our community. I'm Sandra Riley Grimshaw, and I'm giddy to introduce you to Heidi Kuhn, who is a multi-hyphenate. Let me work on this. You are a Nobel Peace Prize nominee. What do you do in your spare time? First, thank you very much.
Oh, Sandra, thank you so much. It's just been an honor to get to know you for the past several months and really see the substance of the county, which I am so proud to be born and raised in. I'm fifth generation Marin County and just so proud of those deep roots of peace that have been really passed down through generations in our family.
So how did you originally, you had this idea, you had, sounds like an epiphany.
It was a vision. When I learned in 1997, shortly after Princess Diana's tragic death, that there were landmines in our world. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Could you imagine our children who couldn't hike Mount Tamalpais or run the beaches of Stinson and worried about kicking a soccer ball out of bounds, of losing a leg or life to a landmine? And it just really hit me. It hit me very hard. I was diagnosed with cancer when I had a 1, 3, and 5-year-old, and I think that was a very defining moment. I remember Marin General Hospital, and my prayer to God was, grant me the gift of life, and I will do something special with it. And when I was asked on September 21st, 1997, to host an event in our family home in San Rafael, 3 weeks after Princess Diana had tragically died, it came through me rather than from me. I hosted about 100 people, lifted my glass, and said, "May the world go from mines to vines."
Exactly. Another humanitarian effort.
Yeah.
It's full circle if you think about that with your ancestors, and now you are doing this, and you have created roots of peace.
It's the earth, and Petaluma was once known as the wheat capital of the world. And again, the wheat, yeah. And again, it's the bread and wine, and from blood to wine, killing fields to vineyards. It's what we do as humans to shepherd the land and respect the land that we have been given to shepherd. And today, Sandra, there's an estimated 110 million landmines in 60 countries.
That is mind-boggling.
I think growing up in Marin, the biggest challenge for 27 years is walking the minefields of the world and coming back home and telling people, we need to care.
Yeah.
We need to care. These are our children. We are mothers, stewards of the earth. These are the earth's children. It takes 8 pounds to detonate a landmine. That is the average weight of a newborn child.
Yeah.
And every time I have walked the minefields of the world just to see the devastation, the violation of the one earth we're given to shepherd. And I think we've all seen that revisited now in Technicolor, tragic Technicolor in Ukraine.
Absolutely.
Since the war began, I was walking my first minefield in Karabakh, Azerbaijan on May 4th as a tribute to International Women's Month. The week before, in 2022, Russia had invaded Ukraine.
God, was it at 22?
Yeah,
wow.
But today, 30% of Ukraine is now contaminated by landmines, UXOs, and cluster munitions. Now, that was a country that was once dubbed as the breadbasket of Europe. But the reality is, as we face this harvest of hope coming up around the world, the harvest is the harvest. The fruits are ripe on the vine. But the mothers that I had met just this last month when I was a keynote speaker in Rome at the World Farmers Market Coalition, these mothers came up to me and said, "Mrs. Kuhn, thank you so much for talking about the landmines, because our men are all out at war, the fathers, the uncles, the brothers. We must feed our children. We are tiptoeing through what we know are minefields, hoping and praying our children will not see us blow up. And if we blow up, if we lose our limb, who will take care of us? But yet, we need to take those gentle footsteps, reach for the juicy nectar of the beautiful peaches and pears and grapes. And if we don't, our children are starved. This is what we are faced with. And I think a stark reality is what do we do as humans? How can we amplify our voice? How can we inspire global citizens to plant the roots of peace on Earth right now?
So when you're world outreach, you're a world humanitarian, you have, you've met the Pope, my goodness, and so many other things.
And world leaders.
And other world leaders, and you have...
Imams, I've met rabbis, I've been honored and privileged to meet Pope Francis on 11 occasions in Rome to be blessed by him, but the blessings of all the faiths are so important to me.
You were the first woman to win the Mahatma Gandhi Global Family Seva medal in India. So for you, that must have been...
It was such an emotional moment. It was Mahatma Gandhi's 150th birthday, October 2nd, right before the world closed with COVID. And I was invited to his gravesite in Rajghat. And I was the only American. It was Prime Minister Modi, and just an emotional moment at the gravesite when he was assassinated in January many years ago, but this is where he was laid to rest. And I was the first woman and first American to be presented with the Mahatma Gandhi Seva Award. Seva means peace, and it was such an honor. But yet, Sandra, it's a responsibility. These are awards not to put on a shelf. It's something to really bring forth with true peace. And I think Roots of Peace is getting to the root cause of so much. And it's the answer to me is in the soil and soul.
It is, and like I said, full circle again from where your ancestors developed this, from agriculture to, but yet you're...
It really is, we have to feed people. And in 2050, there's going to be an estimated 9 to 10 billion people on this planet. So if we keep laying landmines, suddenly we're going to wake up one day and say, what have we done? Because it takes so long to eradicate them. So what Roots of Peace does, and to be very clear, we do not do the demining. We partner with the best. But where Roots of Peace comes in is we train the farmers to then grow high-value crops, to create cold storage refrigeration, to create exports to new markets. We've proudly worked in Afghanistan since 2002 and continue to work there today. Now that's a very extraordinary statement, being a woman-led NGO working in a Muslim country. But I have been told, Mrs. Kuhn, we don't look at you as a woman. We look at you as a mother who's feeding our children.
Wonderful.
And if that's what it takes, we carry no flag, we serve the farmer.
So how do you then take the steps to go to these countries?
It's not easy.
Yeah.
It's not easy, and it takes just, it really was a vision, but I think when you have vision, you have to turn it into reality, and it took tenacity. It took, many times people would close the door in my face. What are you doing? Why do you care about the children over there when you should be caring for the children here? Well, I'm a mother of 4 children and now a grandmother of 7. I definitely care about my children, but I think to whom much has been given, much is required in this world. And coming from a beautiful place, Marin County, being 5th generation, it is our moral responsibility to give back to those who are less fortunate. And Marin County, most people don't remember that this is such an epicenter for peace. It's far more than hot tubs and peacock feathers, let me tell you.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think the future of Roots of Peace is now regenerative agriculture. It's working with farmers to renew the soil, renew the soul, and I'm very proud to have been appointed recently by President Biden's special envoy for food security, and it's for the new VAX program. That doesn't mean a peace sign or a vaccination, but it's the vision for adapted crops and soils. And so as I go to Africa next month in Nairobi, we're going to be planting these beautiful indigenous, highly nutritional crops that will help avoid the malnutrition in the countries. So oftentimes, in Guatemala, for instance, the children live on beans and rice, but they're stunted. They need the vitamins, they need the nourishment, and they need the nourishment of their minds, because when children are educated, they have healthy bodies, families and farmers have the dignity to feed their children, you're not going to have wars. With empty bellies and the inability to feed your children. Last year I was very honored to have been selected as the laureate for the World Food Prize, which is considered the Nobel of Food and Agriculture.
Wonderful.
And again, these are not awards to put on a shelf, but it's a moral responsibility. And I think as women, we bear the seeds of life, Sandra, and it's our responsibility to remove these seeds of hatred from, again, the Mother Earth that we've been given to shepherd.
So as far as you have a team that helps actually identify where the landmines are, take them out carefully, and then there's replenishing of the soil, because I would think, is it possible that the soil has been polluted by these?
Well, we partner with many of the most excellent demining companies in the world. And MAG, it's out of the UK, out of Manchester, the Mines Advisory Group. I suited up on International Women's Day this past year, 2024, with 62 of the bravest African women deminers. And you ask these beautiful African women, why are you doing it? Why are we putting on flak jackets and hats? Why are you doing such a dangerous job? And they look at me straight in the eye and say, Mrs. Kuhn, if we don't do it, who will? This is for the sake of our children, for the sake of our farmers. We have to feed our families. And the only safe way to do that is to eradicate landmines. So we partner, we get the mines out, and then we go into a country, say our first country was Croatia. We did the agricultural assessments, because you don't just go in there and say, plant this, come with an American attitude.
Right, exactly.
You're going to plant what I tell you to do. Never
what actually
works.
works in your climate.
Yes. So we went into Afghanistan shortly after the September 11th attacks with funding from Diane Disney Miller, and unbeknownst to me, daughter of Walt Disney. She was volunteering in my basement. One day took me to lunch at Old Abbey Days and wrote a 6-figure check and said, go turn your minds to vines. Funny story, she goes, you remind me of Dad. And I looked at this check for $200,000. I was working in the basement of my home, and I said, Mrs. Miller, I said, who was your father? And
my goodness.
She looked at me very humbly and said, Walt Disney. I was Diane Disney Miller. My father was Walt Disney, and he knew a thing or two about vision and turning vision into reality. So
and taking a chance.
And taking a big chance and having a lot of no's. She told me, I'll never forget it, took him 330 no's to convince the world that a mouse with ears would bring joy and happiness to the world, and that was Mickey Mouse. So she looked at me and said, this is a Mickey. Get the mines out and get the vines planted, and let's change the world. But she has since passed, and I'll just never forget her generosity. So the success, and the success that this has all been, it has been on the shoulders of giants. And to me, those giants are the community that I have in Marin County. My dearest friends growing up, my children and husband, Gary, first and foremost.
So you're born and raised, went to Dominican, traveled
kindergarten.
East to college, Cal,
that's a little east. Go Bears, in the 70s. In the 70s.
And then, there's no pun intended, but the roots of your family is definitely in what you are creating. Do you have any idea how many landmines have been?
I think Roots of Peace is credited with having facilitated the removal of hundreds of thousands of landmines around the world. And we planted factually 7 million fruit trees in Afghanistan. It's a country 80% dependent upon agriculture for jobs, and it just always gives me such pride to know that those 8 million fruit trees now, because we planted an additional million after the change of regime, are bearing fruit for the next generation.
Wonderful.
And that way, you're not just flying in aid to Hamid Karzai International Airport. Teach a man how to fish, teach a woman how to farm is always what I like to say.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you know, the women are terrific farmers. I mean, they nurture the land, they nurture their children, and you know, water the vine, and you know, it's a beautiful way to work with their husbands on creating the best that can come
And their
from the
children
earth.
are going to have skills and
jobs,
knowledge,
jobs.
and absolutely.
And knowledge.
Are there also wine vines in certain places?
Well, that's a good question. Yes, you know, mines to vines was the initial vision, and of course in Croatia, when I first took my footsteps in Croatia with Anne Lawrence, a beautiful local woman who was met at the Rotary Club of San Rafael, there were an estimated 1.2 million landmines in Croatia, and as a cancer survivor, I just thought cancer is a landmine. Landmines are a cancer to the earth, and the solution is removal. And many of my friends in January 2000 were going off to exotic travel locations. I wanted to walk a minefield because, you know, again, as a cancer survivor, you don't know if you're going to be here next year for your kids. And I just really wanted to have that legacy that their mom did something and did something for others. And that was January 2000. So here we are, 2024, you know,
and
over
your kids
a quarter
are
of a century later.
Your lovely daughter is following in your footsteps.
Lovely
and your
daughter and wonderful husband Gary, who grew up in Tiburon, again with great appreciation for the land. His father was mayor of Tiburon, Al Kuhn, and
you just have all
saw
these roots.
He was there. I'll never forget him telling us the story about the railroad tracks that went to Tiburon, and he came up with this idea, this great idea of having a bike path. Well, the town council and everybody thought he was a little nuts. What are you going to do with a bike path? What do we do? And somehow he convinced them. And today we all know the Tiburon bike path for what it is. But it took vision to do something even that different in your community, and having the foresight. So it's not just my family having those deep roots, it's Gary's as well. And without such a wonderful husband who actually, you know, really, we both graduated from Berkeley in 1979, and to be able to use our education now to be able to educate farmers around the world, it's just been such an act of love, really, beyond raising our wonderful children and now 7 grandchildren. So it's, I feel in many ways we're just getting started, Sandra, and meeting wonderful people like you and your community and your Mary Amara.
Oh my
you
gosh,
know,
Mary is just wonderful.
So, you know, Roots of Peace is what I manifested as an adult, to the best of my ability.
Absolutely. We have so, I haven't even touched on
Yes.
all your other, excuse me while I refer to my notes. Of course, Marin County Women's Hall of Fame, and of course a Jefferson Award, but a Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis Award for Outstanding Public Service.
I mean, these are such meaningful awards, and again, inspiring me just so much more that we can do. And I think the best is yet to come.
So how can we help with Roots of Peace? We can promote what you're doing.
Yes.
Can people volunteer with you?
Absolutely.
Can people donate to you? Can people travel with you?
Yes.
How does that?
Yes, well, really all the above. And I think first and foremost, as a humanitarian nonprofit, donations are critical. We are planning to scale like never before, but we want our roots to be in Marin County. Rootsofpeace.org. Generous donations are greatly appreciated, because we want to take this not, you know, as a quilt taking little patches around the world. We want to take on the entirety, and there's many people we're talking to, so that we don't see the world in silos. You know, I do demining, you do replanting, I do export, I do you know, solar panels. We have to see a holistic way to healing the one earth that we share. And
that is amazing. Absolutely. So do you travel every month? It seems like you're always...
I think I'm kind of like Mary Poppins. The umbrella comes up with the bag and off I go.
Works for me.
Yeah,
that'd be a great way to travel.
You know, I'm honored also, would love to have the support of our community. I've been appointed by the Smithsonian as the chairperson for the 250th birthday of America. And
wonderful.
That means so much to me, because I graduated from San Rafael High School in 1976, the bicentennial year, and could never imagine that 50 years later, I'd be the chairperson for our nation.
Wonderful.
So I want to tell these stories,
Yeah.
you know, of Marin. This is where I was born, and then have that ripple out across the country, because it's, again, respect for the land, respect for the people, it's culture, it's music, it's art, it's our community. How does our community come together? How do we define ourselves as Americans? And I believe, for me, from my humble background, it's that pioneer spirit for peace. And I think as a woman, it's time to giddy up, as my dad would say, get back on that saddle and you ride, girl. And you know, while he's in heaven, I just feel his incredible spirit.
Heidi, what do you do in your free time? You sit up with a good book?
Well, I love my grandchildren.
Oh my gosh, you're so lucky. Well, I met two of them, and they're just so precious.
They're so wonderful, and just I feel so very blessed, and so very blessed to grow up in this community of Marin County, and to carry that legacy forward, to define it really as a place of true peace, of deep roots of peace. That's really was the inspiration why I named it Roots of Peace. It was the childhood dream that I had, and the roots of the redwood trees. So it just made sense, Roots of Peace. And
it's wonderful. You and I could talk forever.
I think we could. As two mothers, and that's why I respect you so much, and just the love and passion you have for your children.
And you inspire me with your daughter and your relationship. And there's hope.
There's hope for the world, you know, when two shall gather in his name. So
well, I'm just delighted. I know we're going to talk again. I have absolutely no doubt we're going to find another kernel of things.
We will. And we need those corporations to support these future stories coming out. I think we have a series here.
Yeah, I do too. I absolutely do. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
And that wraps it up for today. Please contact me if you have anybody else as inspiring as Heidi or along the same lines. We are here to shine a light on all of those individuals and companies making a difference in our community. Thanks very much. Marinterviews, produced in partnership with Marin Arts, Marin Link, and Truce. Please join us on our mission. Nominate a person or program to be profiled either in studio, location, or Zoom. Sponsor a segment. We look forward to working with you.